Mastering the art of counting cards at the blackjack table could see you make an absolute fortune. As well as being your ticket to making thousands of dollars, it's surprisingly not that difficult to learn. And I'm a big advocate of trying it on online casinos, as it has numerous advantages which I'll explain later in the video. I'll also mention one of the most important factors new players overlook, so make sure you stay until the end. Whilst learning to count cards, it may take a while before you can call yourself an expert, but anybody with average math skills and the ability to focus can start their card counting journey in just a couple of days. In this video, I'll explain how to count cards when playing blackjack, why counting cards at online blackjack is better than live casinos, common pitfalls players fall into, and what you should do instead. Let's start with how you count cards and how you'll quickly see that it's not as difficult as you might have originally thought. We simply keep track of high cards and low cards, and by keeping this ratio, it gives the card counter a prediction on whether or not we have an edge on the next hand. The most popular and easiest card counting system is called the high-low system, and this is how it works. The low cards we count +1, and the high cards we count -1. We track each of these plus cards and minus cards, and as we see them on the table, we keep a running count, and that's what we use to know whether or not we have an edge. A card counter will realise they have an edge when the running count is high. This means that there are more high cards left in the deck, and that means there's more chance of hitting a blackjack which pays 3-2. And there's also more chance of the dealer going bust when playing basic blackjack strategy. When your running count indicates you have an edge, you simply increase your bet amount. Now let's explore why online blackjack is fantastic for implementing card counting strategies. And before I continue, I need to be clear that I'm referring to live blackjack tables offered at online casinos. Card counting on the computer-generated games is impossible. Those cards are produced completely at random, and counting the previous cards that have entered the game will become completely futile as they have no relevance to the remaining cards in the deck. Live blackjack tables, on the other hand, have real dealers with real decks of cards, and so we can implement the following strategy whilst playing. Whilst playing online blackjack, we haven't got a casino supervisor, a manager, or the security team watching us. We can be as blatantly obvious as we like whilst card counting, as nobody can see us. I recommend keeping your running count on a simple Excel spreadsheet whilst you play. Just have 2 separate columns for your low cards and high cards, and the document will calculate your running count for you. You can also slow down the play as much as possible so that you have time to make a note of the cards on the table. You'll often be given a time limit to make your decisions, but make sure, even if it's a blatantly obvious decision, like standing on 20, you don't submit your decision before you have registered all of the cards into your spreadsheet. Another advantage to counting cards online is that you can sit and watch the table free of charge, and nobody will say anything. In a live casino, if you're lingering around the tables, keenly paying attention to the cards on the table without placing a bet, casino management team will know exactly what you're doing and may restrict you from playing. Remember, card counting isn't illegal, but casinos don't like it and are well within their right to refuse your custom if they suspect you're using advantage play like counting cards. Perhaps one of the most important benefits to card counting online is the fact that there can be no distractions. As an ex-casino manager, if I suspected a player of counting cards, I would simply strike up a conversation with them or buy them a drink on the house. It's very difficult to count cards while somebody's asking you questions, and even harder to count cards if you're drunk. If you're counting cards whilst playing online blackjack, you can remove all the distractions. Find yourself a quiet room and give the table your full attention. Before I discuss some important factors you need to consider when card counting, I need to be completely clear that even the best card counters in the world do not win every single time. You're simply increasing your bets when the running count suggests that the players have a slight edge. This edge can tilt the odds in your favour by a few percentage points, but that does not mean it's a nailed-on guarantee you are about to win the next hand. Card counters will win over a specific period of time. It's a long-term edge, meaning that in the short term, which could be an individual session or a group of sessions, they could lose money. But mastering the art of card counting and having the edge in your favour will mean that over an extended period of time, they will win money. The fact that card counters can find themselves on the end of losing sessions leads me nicely to my first important factor you need to consider, and that's bankroll management. According to the experts that have made a living from card counting, your bankroll should be about 100 times your maximum bet. So in an example where you are going to bet $5 whilst the count indicates the player has no edge, up to $20 when the count indicates the player has a large house edge, your max bet is $20. Following the expert's advice, this would mean if you wanted to become a professional card counter and weathered the inevitable losing sessions, you would need a bankroll of $2,000. As your bankroll increases, you can increase your maximum bet, staying within that 1:100 ratio. Likewise, if your bankroll decreases, you can lower your maximum bet. Now, one factor that many new card counters overlook is what's called shoe penetration. And this is why on some online casinos, counting cards, even on a live blackjack table, is futile. Shoe penetration refers to how many decks remain before the dealer shuffles the cards again. For example, if you're playing a game of blackjack with 6 decks and the dealer shuffles after only 3 decks have been played, this is a shoe penetration of 50%. And generally speaking, card counters will avoid tables with such a low penetration. Professional blackjack players will look for tables that have a shoe penetration of around 75%. So that would mean that about 4.5 decks are played in a 6-deck shoe before the dealer shuffles the cards. Now, as an ex-casino manager, I can tell you that management and the table supervisors can ask the dealer to change the shoe penetration just to mix things up a bit. If there's no suspicion of any card counting, casinos will find it beneficial to keep the shoe penetration high. This means the dealer shuffles the cards less often, and that means there's more time playing blackjack. Casinos want you to play as long as possible, and it's a well-known fact in the industry that blackjack tables that spend more time shuffling the cards generate far less revenue than tables that shuffle less often. But of course, it's a challenge to balance between allowing the decks to run longer with the potential to generate more money and not allowing card counters an unfair advantage. I've been monitoring the live blackjack tables at casinos all over the world, and I've found a handful that have a reasonable shoe penetration that would be enough for a good card counter to tilt the odds in their favour. If you complete the quick 2-minute quiz in the description, I'll suggest the best option for you based on where in the world you live. If you're interested in card counting, why not try to do it online first? You don't even have to play, and can watch the cards land on the table whilst you keep your running count. If you're interested in learning more about strategies on how to beat the casino, subscribe to the channel and watch this video next.